Hello and welcome to Module 4. This module is called Delight and Joy as a Gift to Your Partner. This is such an important module because in this module I unpack all the things that may have blocked women from being deeply connected to their heart, to their body, and therefore their desires. Now, many of us have grown up in environments where we've received negative messages about being deeply connected to our desires. When we have expressed what we truly want and what lights us up and what gives us pleasure, we have been shamed or scolded or made to feel like we are being selfish or a bad girl. So in this module, I shed a light on some of the reasons why we may be blocked from our deepest desires in terms of what our heart most wants and our body says yes to. Let's get started. Module 4, Delight and Joy as a Gift to Your Partner. In this module, I'm going to be covering two components, and they are seduction as the feminine invitation into intimacy, and also the domestic self versus the sensual self. Seduction as the feminine invitation into intimacy. So to start this, I'd like to talk a bit about feminine pleasure and delight, which is one of the most important sources of feminine energy that we could access in our lives. So pleasure is an embodied experience of positive physical sensations arising either from the interior of the self, such as our bodily sensations, our imagination, our positive emotions felt in the body, or from the five senses that connect us to the external world, such as smell, touch, sound, beauty, and taste. And delight is the spontaneous expression of this pleasure that we are experiencing in that moment. Feminine delight is magnetic because it communicates libido or life energy or erotic energy in the person expressing it. It is also magnetic because it signals a connection to the feminine itself, to the realm of creativity, emotion, nature, play, and unity. So expression of delight is really a signal to the outside world about the internal feelings of pleasure and joy that we are experiencing in any given moment. So whether we are expressing our own delight or witnessing the delight in another person, this relaxes our mind, activates the parasympathetic nervous system, and is an invitation into either a nourishing, nurturing, erotic, or sensual space, depending on the nature of the exchange. And all of these are variations of feminine energy. Now let's talk a bit about romance and delight. Movies, society, and the media have conditioned us to believe that if we are worthy of love, a partner will see our worth and feel inspired to shower us with love, attention, flowers, gifts, and praise. So this is often depicted in Hollywood movies where we see a very attractive female star who attracts the attention of a male suitor because of her physical beauty, and that makes her worthy of being showered with all of these romantic gestures. Sadly, this myth keeps women focused on the scarcity of the gifts coming to them, as if romance is something that begins in the external world. So it's really important that we remember that romance is cultivated from the feminine. So romantic feelings begin within the female, and it is her connection to the things that delight her that signals this romantic response. So an example that I like to use is I love flowers. I love having fresh lilies in my house. So I buy them for myself regularly, sometimes every weekend at the farmer's market. And that is me romancing myself because I love to receive flowers. And every now and then my partner will also buy me lilies because he sees the delight that it gives to me. So now that we're talking about delight, you might be wondering, but why should I delight my partner? As if it's a chore or an obligation. Expressing delight in the presence of a partner can only be given as a gift that arises naturally and spontaneously and generously from our feminine essence, from our mind, heart, and body. Not something that we do, put effort into, or is an obligation or duty, which is the mind only, disconnected from our heart and body. So it's not a chore or an obligation, it's just something that arises from being naturally connected to our true selves. However, women have been long conditioned to people please, satisfy their partners, even if it goes against their current body and heart's desires and responses, be good homemakers, or submit sexually. So this is the opposite of what we're talking about here in this module. This is not delight, this is compliance. This is being guided by demands from the outside world about how we should show up, as opposed to showing up in whatever way feels natural to us in that moment. One of the challenges or problems with this is when we have low desire for the partner we are with, due to either disconnection from our own feminine essence or seemingly low masculine essence in our partner, we might be going against the current if we attempt to override the body and engage in sex without this desire or polarity. So when women are engaging in sex with their partners and it's not coming from their own desires, but more out of obligation, then there will be a lack of this relaxation, this demonstration of pleasure and delight in the female partner. So reclaiming ownership of our desires that arise in our body and heart is the true path towards intimacy. And from this place of desire, we can offer our full selves, heart, mind, and body to our partners, because it's a gift that we just naturally want to share with them in the relationship. But for many of us women, it's a long, hard, difficult path to get to the point where we actually give ourselves permission to experience desire and act on those desires and choose relationships coming from a desire place as opposed to conditioning or expectations from the outside world. So this may mean facing up to the conditioning and messages that we have internalized that create guilt, such as it's not okay to end a relationship due to low desire for a partner because it would hurt their feelings, or it's not okay to end a relationship if you have children because they will be damaged and this will make you a bad mother. So all of these messages and rules and threats from the external world create guilt in women and have them feeling bad for wanting more than what they currently have. And this is a way to control women and to stop them from connecting to this deep desire within themselves, which could be very threatening in some ways because it may mean the ending of many relationships in society and some upheaval when it comes to traditional family life. Okay, so let's explore female desire a bit deeper. I believe that female desire for a partner is one of the key ingredients that will sustain intimacy over time because it is expansive in its nature. In other words, the more she desires, the more she breathes life into the masculine, which will in return want to support more life coming forth from her. This source of female desire is a requirement for creation itself. The feminine desire for life and masculine structure that supports life working together in harmony. So this is really the yin and the yang. This is really all about the balance. We need feminine desire and masculine structure working hand in hand to create a healthy whole partnership. I'd like to share this quote here by a well-known feminine wholeness mentor, Morgan Day Cecil. She says, "Allow yourself to be seduced by life." And this is really where healthy seduction comes from. When a woman allows herself to be seduced by the delight of life, by all of the sensual pleasures that are available to her, by beautiful sunsets or the full moon, or her favorite chocolate, or her favorite flowers, or her favorite lingerie, or walking on the sand. All of these things seduce a woman into the fullness that is life. And it is through us allowing ourselves to be seduced by life that we can then take this energy back into a relationship and seduce a partner into the same depth of desire and pleasure that we are experiencing ourselves. So the more capacity we have for allowing life to seduce us by receiving the pleasure that is available to us in any given moment of the day, the more we desire to invite a partner into this rich world of pleasure, sensuality, the erotic, and the playful realm of the feminine. So my question to you is, how full of your life are you? Are you filled up with the things that bring you pleasure and joy, the things that light you up, that energize you? How much of your life is dedicated towards seeking out and inviting in this kind of pleasure into your experience? So we need to remember that there are aspects of life that require us to give our energy, which is a masculine form of energy when we're doing and giving. And also aspects of life that nourish and replenish us, which is feminine energy, whenever we're in a more receptive mode, when we're taking in the nourishment, the support, all of the good things that we like to give other people. But if you are only ever giving but not receiving, then really you are only generating masculine energy. All of your focus and attention is going out into the world. Your thoughts are going outwards, and therefore all of your energy is also going outwards, and you're looking for all the tasks and the problems that need solving and writing lists in your head about how to accomplish and complete those tasks. And no energy is coming inwards, back inwards into the body, into your heart, and in terms of filling up your own cup. So this is really an imbalance. And this module is all about creating some balance so that there's enough nourishment in your life that is refueling your feminine energy, so that you have something to bring into your relationship that can be also energizing for the both of you. So feminine energy is cultivated by receiving, taking in the beauty, the nourishment, the pleasure, enjoyment, and the healing properties that life has to offer us. And it's not just women, both men and women are nourished by receiving pleasure. It's just that women can really alchemize this and take in sources of pleasure from the outside world and turn it into something even bigger. So let's talk about the domestic self versus the sensual self. So in my work as a psychologist, I've been trained in how to identify different parts or different modes or different archetypes within the psyche. And two parts that are sometimes at war with one another in the female psyche is the domestic self and the sensual self. So I'd like to start with this quote here by Esther Perel. She says, "The unspoken truth about women's sexuality is how narcissistic it can be, in the best of ways. The female's ability to focus on herself is the pathway to erotic pleasure." So this is a concept that I feel we really need to reclaim, just how much female sexuality enjoys having attention on her, likes being the focus of her partner's attention, likes being the object of his or her desire. And this is something that is energizing when a female partner is receiving that kind of attention. It's almost like a reflection or a recognition of her inner feminine essence. Now, many of us have been conditioned or raised with the message that it's boastful or bad to be attention seeking, bad to dress up and wear makeup and short skirts and high heels and dress up aspects of our own physical appearance. And this is a really negative message that we've received, because it can lead to us behaving in the opposite way, which is to hide aspects of our physical appearance and dress down and not take delight in being female. Now, there are also elements of this message which relate to feeling threatened anytime we might attract attention from men. And this is because of the prevalence of sexual assault and not honouring of female sexuality and female body autonomy. So if you are fortunate to be at a stage in your life where you feel relatively free to celebrate in your physical appearance and reclaim this aspect of your sexuality, then it is very healing to start to celebrate the physical aspect of being female, which is to dress up in the way that you desire, in the way that makes you feel alive and sensual. So to understand this concept even deeper, Sheila Kelly talks about the yin effect, which is the concept that female sexuality is multifaceted. It involves many layers, including emotionality, sensuality, spirituality, mentality, intellectuality. And then this piece of the pie that's been split away from the feminine is sexuality and physicality. And this usually starts early in childhood, when young girls are given messages that it's not safe to be fully embodied. And many of us may have memories where we can pinpoint the exact moment where we got the message that it was unacceptable or unsafe to be fully in our bodies, expressing pleasure, expressing delight, and taking enjoyment in the feminine aspect of our nature. So it's a really important aspect of healing and reclaiming the feminine to go back to that memory in childhood. If you can pinpoint those moments where you got the message that it was unacceptable to be a fully embodied female, and really reject the messages from society that that little girl was receiving at that time. And Sheila Kelly talks herself about being a very young child, around the age of 7 or 8, and running around in the sprinkler with no top on and just in her underwear, and playing with some of the boys in the street, and being heavily scolded by one of the boys' mothers and told to put her clothes back on. And she couldn't understand the depth of this contempt and disgust that was being expressed from this boy's mother. And she recalls that being the moment where she disconnected from her sexuality, from her physicality, and made a conscious decision in that moment, which later became unconscious, to bury or suppress or to hide the aspects of her physical appearance that were uniquely feminine. So I invite you just to take a moment to reflect on this yin effect in your own life, and whether any of these aspects are missing from your own expression. emotionality, sexuality, physicality, sensuality, spirituality, mentality, intellectuality. All of these layers make up what it means to be fully embodied in the feminine. So one aspect of everyday life that we must face is the aspect of life that involves the domestic, that involves routine and chores and duties and tasks and repetitive mundane things that do not have us connected to our feminine essence. So within the confines of the four walls of our homes, we come to experience ourselves and our partners only in the role of mum or dad or worker, or the person who we do the bills with and clean the house with and pay the mortgage with. So this is a very mundane, obviously repetitive aspect of life. And a lot of the time for women, it involves us doing and being in a more masculine energy space where we are going through the lists and taking the kids to soccer or music practice or picking them up from school and then getting them ready for bed, and all of these aspects of life that come with being married and raising a family. So how do we navigate this? Because many people will become very bored if they feel that there is just this one-dimensional aspect to their life. So the solution is we will need to keep our imaginations alive if we want to cultivate physical intimacy over time. So like I've said before, the imagination is my superpower, and I want to share that with you. Anytime we close the eyes and picture ourselves in a different situation and take ourselves out of the everyday mundane aspects of life and into the realm where we become more alive, where we feel more expansive, this is us connecting to our sensual selves, the side of us that is full of our own lives and is more adventurous and is more expansive or is more self-expressed than the side of us that we get to experience on a more day-to-day basis. So my question to you is, who are you when you are not burdened by the demands of domestic life? Who do you become? For example, when you're on holidays or traveling alone or in your imagination and fantasy life. When you've got a moment to yourself and your mind wanders, what images come up that have you feeling more relaxed in your body and feeling more connected to your body and more connected to your desires? So this is the side of us that we need to keep alive if we want to have sustainable, thriving, intimate connections with a partner. Because if we're only identifying with our domestic self, then we might feel stale or bored or resentful, and we start to ask ourselves, is this all there is to life? And the truth is, no, that's not all there is to life. It's just that it takes up a large chunk of our lives. But if you can imagine life when you're not burdened by all of these domestic aspects of life, and you can connect to this side of yourself that really comes forward from within you when you don't have that washing to fold right in front of you, is this a side of you that you want to share with your partner? Is this a side of you that feels enlivened in the presence of the partner that you're with? If so, you're going to be cultivating a lot of life energy within the partnership. Seeing the divine in our partner. So far, we've been talking about reconnecting to the divine within ourselves, the divine feminine aspect of ourselves that has all of this erotic energy, that is a sensual being that seeks out pleasure and joy and delight in her own life. And we can forget about this side of ourselves when we get all caught up in the domestic. But we can also forget about this side of our partners when we only see them performing their domestic duties or their everyday duties or going to work. So it's really important to cultivate seeing the divine in our own partners. So here I remind us all that our partner also has a deeper, more complex, erotic nature that we do not witness regularly in our day-to-day lives. So this is also an inner private experience for our partners. So can you see beyond your partner's domestic identity and into their divine nature? And can they see your divine nature? How willing are you to show your divine nature to your partner and allow them to witness this depth? And how easily can you see that depth in them? So for a more feminine essence partner, we want to be able to see the sacred masculine essence in our chosen mate. This energy exchange can be cultivated within a relationship, which will create a protective barrier against the challenges of domestic life and everyday arguments. So here it's really important to understand that the more you can see beyond the domestic aspects of your partner and know that there is something much deeper there within him or her, and also you feel more free to bring this aspect of yourself into the relationship, your expression, your delight, your emotions, your feelings, your needs. All of this will reveal more of the divine feminine in you for your partner to witness. And this energy exchange between two partners is going to be the energy that carries you through everyday life, especially when you're going through challenging times, when there are dramas, issues with children, arguments about money, about decisions, and all of those perpetual problems that actually never fully disappear within relationships anyway. So we need to have something that's going to carry us through those times. Feminine archetypes and erotic fantasy. Now, like I said, the imagination is a powerful tool that is massively underused in people's inner lives. The beauty of the imagination is that we can be whoever we want to be, which is often something different to our domestic identity. So when we close our eyes and go into that internal space, we can connect with any source of feminine energy that we want to cultivate and invite into our experience in that moment. So just take a moment to think about all of the different feminine archetypes, all of the different types of goddesses, of female figures, real or imagined, or in storybooks or in movies, or famous females that inspire you and their own erotic energy resonates with yours. Think about all of those and know that at any moment in time, you can access that type of energy and channel it through your own experience. Now, this is a very powerful tool to be able to tap into because it can really give richness and depth to our erotic life. So we can channel the energy of anything or anyone that we choose to. So for you, it could be Wonder Woman or the French Maid or Jennifer Lopez or Evita. You could be of any age, of any culture, of any era, from any country that you choose to be. The imagination allows us to step outside of our everyday role and into one that is not confined by our current reality. These feminine archetypes are a powerful source of erotic energy that can also invite a masculine partner to step deeper into their own masculine essence in the presence of this powerful feminine archetypal energy.